Jotaro and Yuta are both standards of power within their respective stories, having two of the most powerful spirits on their sides with two of the most overpowered abilities within their stories, so it's understandable why they're held in such regard in both the fandom and in the story. Thematically, it's not my favourite matchup for either, but the concept of Star Platinum fighting Rika does sound very cool to me, so I'll be going over just that. Jotaro Kujo, with his years of combat experience with Star Platinum, the physically strongest stand with the power to stop time, versus Yuta Okkotsu, the special grade sorcerer with a special grade cursed spirit with boundless cursed energy. I'll be using both of them in their most recent states, with Jotaro having all of the experiences had in part 6, and Yuta after the Culling Games. So who wins? Now, if you can't already tell from the title, this will be equal stats. This basically means that their strength, speed, durability will all be made equal in order to see who would win if they were on a level playing field. Without equal stats, Yuta does have a very clear power advantage, while Jotaro has a very clear speed advantage, even without time stop, so it's a bit funky to say the least, and I just can't be bothered with it, so I think it'll just be much more interesting looking at it this way. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment below your thoughts on this matchup, and check out my other equal stats videos, and let's get on with Jotaro versus Yuta. The first thing to note about Jotaro is that he's a pretty competent physical fighter even without Star Platinum. He's a known delinquent, known for beating up people, and even as a child was able to beat up a fully grown man with no difficulty. He's also capable of fighting with multiple broken bones, and has even withstood an explosion which put him on the verge of death, and was still capable of beating up Yoshikage Kira afterwards, a powerful stand user in his own right. His IQ is also incredibly impressive, shown being capable of outsmarting the likes of Dio, who is comparable to old Joseph. This is a much more experienced Joseph than the one that outsmarted Cars, who has a confirmed IQ of 400. Cars is also far above the likes of Santana, who's smart enough to learn an entire language upon just hearing a few words, which is just fucking nuts, honestly. Keep in mind he was 18 when he performed these intelligence feats against Dio, and he's had many decades of experience with the stand on top of that when we get to part 6, taking in roughly 22 years more of experience. Jotaro's willpower and rage is also very noteworthy, going from being weaker than Dio than being able to one-shot him by the end of the fight. As I mentioned earlier, Jotaro is a stand user. Stands are physical manifestations of one's soul, which each have their own unique and powerful abilities. Each stand typically has the same core set of abilities, such as being invisible to everyone who doesn't have a stand, even to ghosts. They can turn intangible whenever the user chooses, which allows Jotaro to send Star Platinum through walls and also interact with others and his own vital organs directly. Stands can also not be physically damaged by attacks which aren't from a stand or a stand user. There's also then the fact that stand users can also manipulate the size of their own stands as well. Star Platinum also possesses extreme power and speed, along with fantastic precision, enhanced sight with his signature ability Time Stop. As the name implies, it allows Jotaro to stop time for everyone but himself for up to 5 seconds. This allows him to avoid attacks or land attacks on unsuspecting opponents. While 5 seconds does not sound like a lot, and to be fair, it's not, he can use it over and over again with a small cooldown in between and can easily beat up his opponent even within just one time stop. Jotaro's Star Platinum also has the ability to manipulate his body to a degree as well, being able to extend his finger to attack from range if Star Platinum is somehow trapped or stuck in one place. There's also some other miscellaneous abilities, such as being able to break the fourth wall, create after images, having super breath, being able to fly, have minor heat manipulation, and can negate regeneration, being able to harm and kill Dio despite his regeneration, along with some resistances as well, such as being able to move within stop time within 5 seconds, even if he is not the one who stops time. He can also withstand fire from Magician's Red, which can melt part of a train track, and possibly has resistance to fate according to Oingo Boingo. Of course, Jotaro isn't without weaknesses, as any damage dealt to Star Platinum will be reflected back onto Jotaro himself and vice versa. He cannot stop time over and over again, at least without a little bit of wait in between uses, and Jotaro also prioritises protecting those close to him rather than fighting his enemy, which can lead to his opponent landing free hits on him. Regardless, Jotaro is still someone you do not want to mess with in the slightest. Yuta Okkotsu is a very capable fighter in his own right. As a sorcerer, his power comes from cursed energy manipulation. Cursed energy is made up of negative energy and emotions which exude from all living things. These manifest into cursed spirits, which are invisible to anybody who does not have their own cursed energy for the most part. Cursed energy amplifies a person's physical capabilities and grants them unique abilities. Typically, if you have more cursed energy, you're considered far more powerful than others. This is noteworthy because Yuta literally has a bottomless pit of cursed energy to pull from, meaning that he's just not going to get worn out. Yuta also has access to Curse Technique Reversal, which in simple terms allows him to basically invert cursed energy and then allows him to heal himself and others from pretty lethal injuries. He can also wield and channel his cursed energy through his katana and fists, which also makes him a pretty capable hand-to-hand fighter. His main ability is through Rika, who's considered the queen of curses. This allows him to fly, manipulate water, and can almost unconditionally copy other people's curse techniques. He can create Shikigami out of Rika's hair. These Shikigami are capable of moving domains which can nullify curse techniques within their vicinity. Using other people's cursed energy techniques, he can also manipulate and grab space itself and allow it to move him around. He can also reflect attacks back onto people and has access to invisibility. With cursed speech, he can imbue cursed energy into sound, which basically outputs forced commands. For example, he can force people to go to sleep by simply shouting the word sleep. He can stop targets in place by saying don't move. He can make people run away by saying run away. He can twist bodies by shouting get twisted, can crush people by saying get crushed. He can make targets explode and can even steal life away from them by saying the word die. You can also simply just blast people away from him by shouting blast away. He's also got 3 very powerful techniques in the Black Flash, Thin Icebreaker, and the Yuta Rika Blast. The Black Flash warps space itself when cursed energy is applied within this many seconds, no I'm not going to say how many, of a physical hit, which creates a Black Flash, which increases their power by 2.5. Thin Icebreaker works by hitting the surface of the sky, breaking it and hitting the person along with it, basically allowing them to break space. Finally, he has a Yuta Rika Blast, which as the name implies, fires a powerful energy blast. Rika also can store cursed objects within her and create some as well, such as a microphone to complement Yuta's cursed speech, and can even create mechanical limbs for Yuta. He also has a domain expansion, which is considered the peak of Jujutsu sorcery, which creates an environment of the user's cursed energy. It's unclear what Yuta's exact domain expansion does, but at the bare minimum it should have the basic abilities of other domains, such as being able to negate other cursed techniques, seeing that simple domains can do that as well. As for weaknesses, Yuta can only use Rika for up to 5 minutes at a time, meaning that his most powerful abilities aren't always at his disposal. After using a domain expansion, the use of his innate curse technique is also disabled for a short while. Despite this, Yuta is still incredibly powerful and versatile. To get the first part out of the way, we need to talk about Star Platinum and Rika in a technical sense. You can argue that they're able to interact and see each other, due to them being made up of will and emotions, and being able to see and interact with invisible entities. If you don't think they'll be able to see or interact with each other, then it becomes a very different and a very weird fight. Jotaro might be able to figure things out with his high intellect, but it's still going to be extremely bizarre for him. Pun intended. By making them being able to see each other, it makes a much more entertaining fight. Jotaro is better when it comes to pure hand-to-hand combat, is smarter, has greater experience, and can avoid a lot of Yuta's attacks with time stop. Meanwhile, Yuta has better weaponry and has a lot more abilities to work with than Jotaro does. So who wins? Well, for starters, Jotaro can stop time, phase through Yuta's organs and destroy them, and Yuta can't do anything about it. However, this is vastly out of character for Jotaro to do in a fight. Also, Yuta can just heal himself, providing it's not his brain that's destroyed, which is another point. While Jotaro does have good endurance and willpower, the damage that he takes across the fight will be permanent, while Yuta can heal himself. Cursed speech is also pretty broken and can deal serious damage to Jotaro with things like crush or die. Yuta can also put Jotaro to sleep, and Jotaro can't really do much about it. The Black Flash is also very, very powerful and will deal significant damage to Jotaro. To put it into perspective, let's say Jotaro and Yuta both have a power level of 5. With the Black Flash, this attack would put Yuta's power level at 55.9. Needless to say, a Black Flash might just one-shot Jotaro, if not at least deal significant damage. Yuta can also create Shikigamis, which can overwhelm Jotaro as well as give him the numbers advantage. However, there's an even bigger deal to be made here if you have stands and cursed spirits equalised as concepts, simply due to how Yuta's powers work. You see, Yuta's ability to copy curse techniques and negate curse techniques with the domain expansion, you could argue he could just copy Jotaro's ability to stop time and then negate the ability to afterwards, which is just crazy. Needless to say, Yuta has a lot of advantages even without giving him the benefit of the doubt, which can easily beat Jotaro. The main way Jotaro wins is through time stop, landing a ton of blows on Yuta before Yuta can really do anything at all, which is fairly plausible. They would have to kill him, otherwise Yuta could just heal from that, and then use many of his other win cons to win. Jotaro might be able to outlast Rika's time limit with time stop and his intellect, but it's going to be extremely tough to do so, especially considering he doesn't really have a way around cursed speech. You could argue that Jotaro does this really meta thing where he just damages his own ears beyond use, but not only would that significantly damage Jotaro, but it would require him to know about cursed speech afterwards in order to avoid it. And, you know, the main way he's going to know about curse speech is if Yuta uses it in the first place. Even then, Yuta can just use reverse curse technique to heal Jotaro's ears, so he doesn't really have that way out. Regardless, I do think that Yuta's more likely to beat Jotaro with equal stats. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, comment below your thoughts on this matchup, and I'll see you all next time.